So here we come to IGCSE Mathematics Paper 4, Specimen Paper 2020. Question 5A, Part 1 is about how to derive a quadratic equation. So first of all, let's see what we got. So we have the perimeter in red color, and then the area in blue color. And then we also have one of the width is the XCM, the green color here. So what we want to do is to show some equation here. So we think about these three colors, how they relate together. So let's think about the width first. So this width is XCM, or this is the width. And so this is also XCM. Okay, so and then we make use of the perimeter is 80 cm. So the length, or this length, these two add up, and then with the x and x will be the perimeter, right? So we can think about that, right? So the length must be using the perimeter minus this 2x, or x plus x, so it will be 2x, and then this is 2 lengths, so we need to divide it by 2, or this will be the length of 1 length, okay? So, and then we can simplify this and we will get 40 minus x, right? You just divide 2, or 80 divided 2 will be 40, and then minus 2x divided by 2 will be negative x, right? So the length is like this, and then we make use of the area, the blue thing. The area is 8 cm square, so the length multiplied by the width will be the area. So we just got that 40 minus x, the length times the x, the width, will be equals to a. Okay, so we are almost here. So we just break it down and then move all the thing to the left hand side. We will finish it. So we'll get like 40x minus x squared will be equal to a. So here, how about I remove all the things to the right hand side first, so that the x squared becomes positive. So I'll remove these things to the right hand side, so it will be a minus 40x, and then for the green thing, the negative x squared, right, to the right hand side, and then will be a positive x squared, and then what remain on the left hand side will be 0, and 0 equal to this thing, and then we rearrange the things and put all the things to the left hand side, and then the 0 on the right hand side. So we'll get x squared minus 40x plus a will be equals to 0. So that's what the question wants us to show. That's it. So here we come to question 5a part 2. It's about how to solve a quadratic equation using the factorization method. So first of all, we just substitute a equal to 300 into the equation. So we got something like this. Then we need to solve this using the factorization method, which is by the cross method. So for the cross method, we think about the ABC first. So for A, it's easy, it's positive 1 for this equation. So if it is positive 1, it must be x and x, right, for these two terms, first two terms. And then we think about the C. The C is a positive C here. It's positive 300. For the C, we need to think about two numbers that can multiply to the C, the value C, as is a positive 300. So the two numbers must be either both positive or both negative to multiply up to a positive C. But if these two numbers are positive, then the add up will be the value of B, but B here is a negative B, is a negative 40. So when these two are positive, it can't make it negative 40. So we can choose the sign. It must be negative and negative for the two values. Okay, and then we think back which two numbers can multiply up to 300. You can try some error first, maybe like 300 and then 1, right? And then you add up will be like negative 300x, okay, and then negative 1x, and then it will be negative 301x. So it's not correct because the B is negative 40. We need to think about another two negative things. So maybe you can think about the correct ones to be the negative 30 and then negative 10. So you can track again. So it's like this. So add them up will be negative 40x. So you check up with the b. Yeah, they're correct. Remember, for the factorization method, you need to write it horizontally. So it's x minus 30 times x minus 10, like this. X minus 30 times x minus 10 equal to 0. When two numbers multiply up to 0, it can be one equal to 0 or the other one equal to 0, or both are zeros. Oh, so here, just the same. Right? So x minus 30 is 0, or we can have x minus 10 will be 0. And it becomes a linear equation. So we can have x equal to 30 or x equal to 10. So this is the answer. So for part 3, we need to use the quadratic formula to solve it. So for quadratic formula, for an equation like this, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, the x will be equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and then divide the whole thing by 2a. So you first of all, you need to figure out what is the a, b, c here. So you can see here, when you substitute a equal to 200 here, there is no a, so remember a is something in front of the x squared. So something is here, it is a plus 1, right? It's positive 1. So using the formula, we will have, pay attention to the negative b here, right? It's a negative. So first of all, it's negative b is negative 40, negative bracket b, I will like this, and then plus or minus square root of the b squared. I put a bracket here for any negative thing. For any a, b, c is negative, and then minus 4, a is 1 plus 1, and then c is plus 200, and then divide the whole thing by 2a, a is plus 1. So and then you need to simplify this one. So here, negative 40, so it becomes a positive 40, and then the whole bunch of things under the square root, you just use the calculator to calculate, it will be 800. So for the denominator is 2 times 1 is 2. So actually here you can just use the calculator. So one answer will be 40 plus the square root of 800, and then divide the whole bunch of things by 2, and you will get 5.86. All right. And for the negative thing, you will have 40 minus the square root of 800, and divide the whole thing by 2. You will get the other answer. And remember, you need to correct it to 2 decimal places. So it should be 34.14, not just 1. Okay. But here, I will also teach you how to simplify this third thing. You can skip to part B if you want. So for me, I'll try to break this number using the square number as a factor of that. So if you can memorize all these numbers, these are all the square numbers. So for me, I can memorize up to this one, and I also know this as the 20 square. Okay, so here you can see 400 times 2 will be 800. So I just use this 400 to decompose it. So the 800 will become 400 times 2. And for the 400 here, you can take it outside the square root. So the 400 will take out as 20, but the black 2 here, it can be taken out. So it remains under the square root 2. And then you can just further divide each thing by 2. And for 40 divided by 2, you will get 20. And you keep the plus or minus. And then for this one, just the thing outside the square root need to be divided by the 2. So you will get 10 sub 2. Right? Remember, something inside the square root cannot divide it by something outside the square root. So this is the answer. If you want to simplify it, and you can just use your calculator, you will get the same answer like this too. That's it. So here we come to the question 5b1. So this question is asking how to manipulate the algebraic fraction and also the knowledge about the speed. So first of all, let's take a look on the speed equation. So speed, normally we have the unit like km per hour. So it's km per hour. So it must be km in the numerator and then the hour in the denominator. So it is distance over time. But for this equation, we can just multiply it. All right. So we will get, so when we multiply the time to the left hand side, we will get something like speed times the times will be the distance. When we want to calculate the distance, you can just multiply these two. And when we want to calculate the time, we just move the speed to the right hand side. So we'll get the third equation. The time is equal to distance over speed. But what you need to know, you just need to memorize the first equation, and you can derive these two by yourself, right? So here we come back to this question. I'll show that the difference between the time blah 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 is good. So 20 km January at an average speed of this x. So what is the time for this? Should be the time should be the distance 200 divided by the speed. Okay. So I would say that the time for the first journey is 200 divided by x. Similarly, we can have the time for the return journey. The distance is still the same, but the speed is x plus 10. So the time for the return journey will be 200 divided by x plus 10, like this. And then we need to think about the difference between the red thing and the blue thing. Which one is bigger? You can think about the denominator, because the numerator are the same. So if we have a larger denominator, you can have a less whole time. Okay, so here, x plus 10 is higher than the x, right? So the whole thing is more for the red thing, and then this will be less. All right. So we should use the red thing minus the blue thing to get the difference between the two terms, like this. All right. So the difference is the red thing minus the blue thing, but I leave some space here because we need to manipulate it. We need to have the same denominator. So for this one, you need to multiply a fraction with the denominator of the blue thing. So we'll multiply it by x plus 10 over x plus 10, like this. I'll put a bracket here. And then for the blue thing here, you need to multiply by x over x. So you have the x over x. So you can get the same denominator for these two terms. As you can see, these two terms, there are two terms here. These two terms having the same denominator, x times x plus 10. Right? These are the same, these two things. So you can just write 1 here, it's in the denominator. And for the numerator, this times the bracket x plus 10, and then minus 200 times x. And then you just break the bracket in the numerator. So you will get 200x plus 2000. And then minus the blue thing. And you will discover that these two will cancel out. So you will just get 2000 divided by x and then bracket x plus 10. So this is what the question wants you to show. That's it. So for part B2, it's just asking about the time conversion from the hour to the minutes to the seconds. Okay. So first of all, you need to substitute the x equal to 80 to the thing you get in B1. Okay. So you should get something like this. Put the x become 80, and then you use your calculator. You get this as your answer. I'll use the fraction. Okay. So this is in terms of hour, but we need to make it into a minute. So how? We just multiply by 60 like this, and then you make it into a minute. So it will be how much? Let's see. This should be 16 and 2/3. Alright, this is minute, right? But we want to change the 2/3 into second. Alright, the 16 is good, but this one is not good. So we just, for this one, we will multiply by 60 again. So for the 2/3, I will multiply by 60 again to get a second. So the final answer should be 16 minutes and 40 seconds. Alright, that's the final answer. The end.